You know, it's something we're all kind of guilty of, right? We equate what's popular with what's true. I mean, think about hit songs, blockbuster movies. We've got this built-in assumption that if everyone loves something, it's got to be good. But what happens when we take that same logic and apply it to something as huge and eternal as our faith?
I mean, really think about it for a second. Just because a song hits #1, does that make it the greatest song ever written? No way! Of course not. It just means it's the most popular song right now. So, why do we do this? Why do we so often just assume that the most popular take on a spiritual topic has to be the most correct one?
So in this explainer, we're going to totally pull that idea apart. First, we'll talk about what I'm calling the popularity trap. Then, we'll dig into what the word popular even means in the first place. After that, we've got a couple of case studies. One's all about pure numbers, and the other is about, well, cultural noise. And then, we'll wrap it all up by landing on a much, much better way to measure truth.
Okay, let's dive right into the heart of it. This is the central mistake, and you see it a lot in Christian theology. It's this quiet, unspoken assumption that whatever view is the most widely held, well, that one must also be the most biblical one. I get it. It feels logical. But as we're about to find out, that logic is, seriously flawed.
But hold on. Before we can even start testing this idea, we've got to define our terms. And this, right here, this is where the whole argument just starts to fall apart. Like, what do we actually mean when we say a theological view is popular? As you're going to see, the measuring stick we're using is basically broken from the get-go.
You know, that word, popularity, it's incredibly slippery. We throw it around all the time without even thinking that it can mean totally different things to different people. And as you can probably guess, that leads to some major misunderstandings. So let's break this thing down.
Okay, check this out, because this is where it gets really interesting. When we say popular, are we talking about the sheer number of people who follow a system worldwide? Or does it mean the historical reach of a huge institution? Maybe it's just about who has the loudest voice, the biggest media influence. Or heck, maybe it's just what's dominant in one corner of the globe, like here in the West. See? Those are 4 completely different ways to measure it. So, which one is it?
All right, let's actually put that first definition to the test. Let's try to measure popularity with just pure, simple numbers. We're talking about the total number of people on Earth who subscribe to a particular view of salvation.
And the winner by a landslide is Roman Catholicism with a staggering 1.3 billion followers. So if we're just judging by the number of people, this is it. It's hands down the most popular framework for salvation on the entire planet. Case closed, right? Well, not so fast. The really important question isn't that it's popular, but how it got that way.
I mean, that huge number didn't come from 1.3 billion people all sitting down with their Bibles, studying them, and independently coming to the exact same conclusion. Nope, it was built over centuries by some really powerful historical and cultural forces. We're talking institutional continuity, state-church alignments, colonial expansion, and honestly, a lot of it is just cultural inheritance. So what the numbers really tell us is a story about historical success, not necessarily biblical truth.
All right, so counting heads is clearly a shaky way to find truth. So what about that other metric? Let's look at popularity based on visibility and influence. This is a fascinating one because it's where an idea can feel completely dominant, not because a ton of people believe it, but just because it's got the loudest voice.
So if you live in certain parts of the world, especially in the US, you might just assume that a specific kind of evangelicalism, you've probably heard it called dispensationalism, is just the default view. The most popular one. It kind of feels like it's everywhere. But is that feeling actually based in reality?
And boom, this is where we see this giant gap between what we perceive and what's real. The perception is that it's totally dominant, it's widespread. The reality, it's what you'd call high impact but low density. It makes a ton of noise and has a huge reach for sure, but the actual number of people who hold to it is way smaller than its cultural footprint makes it seem.
So why does it feel so big then? Well, it's all about the amplifiers. This view has been masterfully communicated through endless prophecy conferences, massive radio, TV, and internet ministries, the incredible legacy of books like the Scofield Reference Bible, and a really powerful publishing industry in America. Its voice was just turned up to 11, making it sound way bigger than it actually is.
Okay, so if we can't trust sheer numbers, and we can't trust cultural volume, where does that leave us? It's time to find a much better measuring stick, a much more reliable way to think about truth.
So that's the real question, isn't it? If numbers don't work and noise doesn't work, what does? After we've torn down all these common assumptions, we're left with this one big question. What is the right standard? What's the measuring stick we should be using all along?
And what's so fascinating is that the Bible actually answers this question for us. And its answer, it runs completely against our modern instincts. If you look throughout biblical history, the majority was often flat out wrong. The group that was actually faithful to God, it was usually just a tiny minority, a small remnant. Truth was never, ever decided by a popular vote. It was always, always measured against one thing: God's revealed word. And this right here, this is the core thesis, the bottom line. All of these theological frameworks, it doesn't matter if it's Catholic, Reformed, dispensational, you name it, they're just systems. Think of them like tools. They're designed to help us understand the Bible. But the tools can never be more important than the thing you're working on. Scripture, and Scripture alone, has to be the final authority. All right, let's bring this all together. Let's talk about the final takeaway. How can you measure truth for yourself and get past all that distracting noise of what's popular? First thing to remember, numbers do not equal truth. Just because a view is held by millions or even over 1 billion people, that doesn't automatically make it right. I mean, come on, history is just littered with popular ideas that turned out to be completely wrong.
And the second thing, visibility doesn't equal truth either. Just because a view has the biggest platform, the most books, the loudest microphone, that doesn't make it true, you know? Sometimes the truth is a quiet whisper, not a booming shout.
And finally, the most important point of the whole thing. Truth is tested by the word. The ultimate test for any idea isn't its market share or its cultural cachet. It's not about how many people believe it or how loudly they shout it. The only test that matters is this: how faithfully does it hold up when you test it against Scripture? So here's the challenge for you. The next time you find yourself in one of these debates, try swapping out the question you're asking. Instead of asking, hey, which view is the most popular, arm yourself with a much better, much sharper question. Which view arises most naturally from a careful, honest handling of the biblical text itself?
And look, ultimately, this isn't a call for you to go off and be isolated. It's a call to discernment. It's just like the Apostle Paul wrote, "Prove all things, hold fast that which is good." That's not a suggestion, it's a command. It means we don't just passively accept whatever is popular. We have to actively test every single idea and only hold on tight to the things that we prove to be good and true. So the final question is really for you. Are you willing to do the work?